Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. Welcome to the map tour of Red River, Manitoba. So this is the spawn point over here by the John Deere shop, it looks like. Although we may be near... maybe that's just a fuel tank we can fill up with. Yeah, this is the start that you see in the game. It does start you with $3 million in new farmer mode, and a big reason for that is this is, I think, the biggest map, certainly the biggest map I've seen. This is 10 by 10 kilometers. So it's not a 4 times map, it's not an 8 times map, it's a 10 times map. So it is big. Alright, so we begin here up on the western center edge of, again, a really large map. So this is brought to us by Camil Mapping, who has done things like Hastings and Shellbrook, Saskatchewan, and so forth. So they enjoy putting out large maps. The thing I do like about it, because I do like maps based on real locations, they do large maps, but they tend to model them and put them on real spaces. So if I go into the PDA, it takes everything I have to shrink this into the screen. Now, once again, you can usually get every map on, but obviously from this, it's hard to get kind of a scale of what you're looking at. But you can see, you know, there's Google kind of copyright behind here. This is literally overlaid and then designed, for the most part, on top of an existing satellite image of this area. So you can even see, like, there's a, you know, part of the city here, and you know, it moves over. Now obviously there's, you know, little things here, like obviously the road goes through here, so this field is likely not exactly that way in real life, but they've certainly made an attempt to make this be something based on reality. So, you know, we can see the river coming in here, coming out, and then heading out through the farm fields, and you can see on the side it is very much this grid, except where the river breaks it up. You know, and you've got some of the triangular fields. So on the PDA here, we've got 118 fields. Now, part of the reason you're given so much money to start, as you can see, there are no farmlands that you own at this point. There are also no equipment that you own at this point. So in new farmer mode, you are starting out with money and basically able to make your own way up here in Canada. So let's take a quick look then, since we don't have anything for starting farms, just on what things look like as far as what's provided on the map. So I'm going to zoom in here, which I don't normally do, but everything is congregated around this space. So you've got your animal dealer, a grain elevator, there's the seed shed, another grain elevator, and then anhydrous, seeds, fertilizer. So this is your bulk product area, it looks like. You've got a multi-production factory, propane station, donut production is on this map, pig food production, biomass, dairy. There's other things probably hidden in there that I'm not able to click on. There's herbicide production, the grocery mart, the supermarket is sell points, liquid petrol, obviously the shop we're at, and then a mineral feed factory and a grain mill. So some pretty basic stuff. No, there is, okay, there's propane, but, okay, petrol, there we go. I was worried there wasn't any gas on the map initially, but no, we do have that. So as far as getting going, and you can see 515,000, it's 134 acres to give you some idea of the size. You know, this is a decent sized field on most maps, 25 acres. But you can see here it's barely a postage stamp on a 10 by 10 kilometer map. Alright, so the potential starting points, when you're in the farmland mode, I think I've got the additional info mod, and so it changes and shows what the back end field numbers are. So you can see the farmland here is what's showing. So if you recall from the PDA, we had 118 fields, but you can see we're up to like 125 here. That's just because of how the mod shows things. So field 78 is a potential starting point. Field 70 is a potential starting point. So I'm looking up there in case you're trying to pause the video and see. Now the difference, obviously this being near the river, has some pretty nice soil situations, where here we're talking about a lot of silty clay. Another one is here. Once again, pretty cool soil, very nice loam, very little silty clay, almost as high as you can get. So next one is field 9 here, but it's supposed to be with this, so you can see they show up separately. So this is a starting location. And then here on field 15, a lot of sand. So actually worse in expected yield, 81%, so pretty challenging. Then field 53 here, we're back to the 100% silty clay. And then 101, I'm sorry, 93, which is the same type. And then this one here, field 90, which is a little bit better, where you get a little bit of loam. But those are your 8 possible locations that when you purchase things, they will unlock buildings that you can utilize. Alright, so there's also a adjusted crop calendar, and there's some additional crops on the map. So you can see there's buckwheat, rye, mustard, and peas that you're able to grow, along with the very different planting and harvesting cycles of those. And then you'll also notice April and May, everyone's going to be out in the field planting here for the most part for the base game crops. And then your harvest season's moved up a little bit. It's August to October, where in a lot of default settings it's September to November. So as you might imagine, up in the cold north, things change a little bit. As far as sell points, you can see you've got a lot of them. Now, a lot of the farms that you would start with have these silo dryers, so that's why you see so many of them. And certainly if you were trying to deliver to any of them, you're going to need to more likely tag them to be able to see where they're at. But you can see you've got quite a few choices. Even if you take the dryers out, you've at least got a couple. You can still sell olives, sunflowers, soybeans, corn, sugar beets. So for the most part, not seeing anything. Alright, obviously diesel. Okay, but with productions, you've got at least one sell point for everything. So if you've, okay, fertilizer, those we're not worried about, herbicide. And then obviously you've got your new crops and where you can get your anhydrous. And then with the corn dryers, you'll be able to do that. Alright, so to show you, I've gone ahead and set myself up for farmland 79, which is field 78. If I hop over here to the farmhouse, now you can see, I've got the farmhouse it'll have the sleep trigger up top. It's, I think, the typical farmhouse that Camil uses on the maps that I've seen. And then you can see we've got a lot of things back here. Our field is over there across the way, or no, I'm sorry, our field is over that way. But you can see, you've got a nice setup. You've got a lot of silos, some diesel, a liquid fert tank, supply tanks, a lot of the silos, and I think this is probably because this is what is common in Canada. You're dealing with the bins where you're going to need an auger. So keep that in mind. So you can see there's some other bins back here. And then obviously you've got some barns that are not going to have any equipment in them yet, because that doesn't change. But you can kind of get a view of, what things look like. You'll have your, I think you have your pressure washer. Yeah, there you go. So as you might imagine, set up for big farming for certain. And then here's your field here. So looks like a little bit of a rise, and looks like we've gotten a field that has peas in it. So this is what the peas look like. And you can see again, it's 418 acres. So it's a bit large. Get myself in flight mode here. But this is the field. And I mean, it's not even fully visible with what you've got. You can see, it's looking green, but we're up along the river. And then I think this comes up to the one above it. So they've got sunflowers. And, we're pretty high up here. So you can see. Now this, again, is not a farm. I mean, you can buy it, but all of this then is decorations, and you'd have to determine how to remove it from the map and so forth. So we've got cotton growing here on 248 acres. So you kind of get the idea. I'm not quite sure from a tour standpoint that there's much to show. We can certainly run around to the other farms you can buy just so you can kind of get an idea. So yes, this is another location that is purchasable, and then these buildings should unlock. So this is Farm 2 up here. So we're up in this part of the map here. We're going to head down here toward field 25. So that should be that way. But very flat, which I'm sure is the terrain up here in Manitoba. And so we've got wheat, 32 acres. Similar setup with the large animal barns and silo complex with a dryer. Now, there is a farmhouse. I was going to say there's no farmhouse here, but there is. As you can see, you're set up here with a slurry tank and so forth. And then this location is number 4. So a bit similar to what I started with. So same type of silo setup, and then just equipment. So really, if you're looking for animals, you've got those two we had just looked at, or the first one and this one are more the field work type of setup. Alright, so now we've got a ways to go. We got to go down into just about the southeast corner of the map here. So I think I'm headed in the right direction. It is not. I don't think it's that. No, this is a decorative farm. I believe it's this one out there. So this field would be the one. So this one has buckwheat in it in this case. Typically those are they start the same way. So versus starting with peas, you'd be starting with buckwheat. This one has some solar panels on it. But again, other than that, it is a little bit different in that you've got this silo complex, but then 2 large equipment sheds, and you know, your farmhouse with some trees. So if you're looking for a tree lot, you know, that gets you there. So it's over here down by field 15. And we have a biogas plant right near us too here. I had missed that in the PDA tour, so that is around there as well. Alright, so that's the southern edge of the map. So as you can see, you know, not a lot of trees, so the map border is pretty stark. You obviously need to be careful if you had your fields down there. So we're heading over to 6, 7, and 8 as the starting locations. But I don't have a lot to talk about because it's you know, kind of what you see is what you get. It's pretty basic. It's fields and fields. So by field 53 here, this is another option. This would be starting farm 6. So a little bit different. It looks like feed silos, a big silo complex, maybe a root cellar, and then bunker silo, and it looks like you've got some cattle pens that you get. So you can start a cattle operation in this location if you're looking for that. This is farm 7, so these are clustered pretty close together here. So you've got a railroad track going diagonally through the area. So here's number 7. So again, another animal lot, the bunker silo, and I'm guessing these are not cows. It's probably sheep or pigs. Buy that so we can see what we've got. Alright, now it is a dairy barn. And then back here, you've got another barn as well. So another dairy barn. So yes, so this is a dairy operation as well. So you've got hayloft, feed silos, and so forth. But as you can see, things, you know, you get some good items unlocked. And then this should be location 8. So you've got a lot of water and some basic silos and that general setup. Which you can see that's up here near field 90, and that completes the 8 locations that you can start your farm at. And again, when you purchase, you'll get some of the buildings. So let me end here with a brief kind of map tour. So we're over here. I'm gonna head, whoa, sorry about that. Back myself out. So as you can see, there's traffic on the map. You know, but also kind of as flat as one would expect. So I'm going to try to get up to where the barn is. You can see we've got that. So it's kind of the first starting farm that I went ahead and took ownership of, just to understand how it works. Looks like we've got a town sign there. Welcome to Morris. So that is the town here along Red River that we're part of. We've got the railroad tracks. Not sure if there's a working train along there. Now let's see, is this just the farm? No, that looks like a road, because we do need to head north, so let's turn here. I think that will... Nothing else, we're heading in the correct general direction. So I think these again are decorative. I don't think you can do anything. There's a little bit of the stream running through. Alright, so we are headed in the right direction. So those red buildings should be first starting farm by field 79, I think it is. And so again, with the 10 by 10 map, you're looking at just a lot of driving. If you're not putting yourself up here near the city, you're either going to need to put in your own sell points, or just expect a lot of hauling to be going on. But obviously, if you are so inclined, you can do this. So, alright, here we go. So, Camel Canuck Farm. Nice little topiaries and so forth. And there's our home that we jumped to. And then, again, back here, just the perspective from the vehicle. So you've got a few options. You've got, 8 of them, obviously. Some are more focused on crops, and some have a focus of animals, and I'd say it's dairy predominantly. The last thing that I didn't mention in the beginning, so I apologize for that, is there are a lot of additional mods that are required. 23 if I counted correctly. They come with the file. To obtain the map, you're going to have to go to Camil Mapping's Facebook page. I believe that's the easiest way to get it. I'll include a link down below to that group so that you can join and get the map if you're so inclined. I know there's a few, floating objects here and there, because I think I'm dealing with an initial copy of the map. I think I've seen that there's been an update that takes care of some of that. So if you're going to get it at this point, you should be able to get the 1.1 version of the map, which will have some fixes for things that were found as people were playing around. A nice real-world map. If you're looking for big farming, this certainly will not disappoint. You've got lots and lots of space here to kind of make it your own. Alright, so one thing people like to know, can you sell things? So, yeah, the hoppers are sellable. You can sell the barn. You can sell the house. So yeah, you're able to eliminate pretty much anything. So there are pieces here, for example, the dumpster, this little outbuilding, those are not removable with just simply selling. Alright, for whatever reason, the case that I had picked up from the shop wasn't viewable on the map. This Kloss is, but I was unable to do anything with Courseplay So before I say there's a problem with Courseplay on the map, I want to make sure that, everything's good. So yes, so this looks better because now I can actually create a job. So if I set my target position and my field position, so you can see it does border 78 properly. So when I had clicked the first time, it gave me an error and said check the log. I then tried to generate in field 83, just thinking it was a large field thing. But then here I went back to 78, and as you can see, it worked. So it is interesting that along this border, it looks like you're gonna waver back and forth, where here, and up here, these headlands follow the contour pretty nicely, but certainly nothing that immediately gives me pause. So let me check another field that you might want to use, which is field 53, for example. We'll do that. We'll do the course generator. So just be aware, in full disclosure, that I was getting some sort of errors for some reason, but it appears at this point, things are working well. I'm just gonna check the obvious starting points, which are the starting farms that you'd work with. So we did that. This was the other one, and then 93 down here. So yes, unlike other maps of things like this where you have fields that are oddly shaped very close together, these appear to be separated appropriately. So not running into anything where okay, so 27 and 28 have a bit of an issue where they'll appear together, but that is it. And yes, you can buy 27 and 28 separately, so that could be a potential problem, but I'd say overall for a map this large, normally if there's issues with the map in field selection and boundaries, I find it within 4 or 5 clicks, so it took some doing. And I in these map tours, I never go through and check everything. I'm just trying to give you a general flavor of does it work. You can also see the thing I do like about it, and I don't know if the map author is the one that determines that or not, but I did like that the Courseplay generation is north, south, east, west, straight up and down. A lot of times in things like that, especially field 79 that has that's not rectangular or square, you'll get diagonal Courseplay suggestions, which might be more efficient, but I much prefer this for fields like that. So that gives you the tour. I've covered everything that I normally would go through. Hopefully I haven't missed anything you might be looking for, but last thing that I always talk about is, would I play it? Yeah, if I'm looking for a large map, I think this certainly would be hard to beat from the size standpoint, and as with any real location, the author only has to work with what they have to work with. So for me, this would be a Courseplay map, heavy Courseplay, multiple tools and so forth. So if I was looking to run 3, 5, 7 harvesters, whether the game could handle, you know, such a fleet or not of 7 and do that all with Courseplay and keep things straight. I don't know. Might be something that I'll try one day just to test it, see what the limit is, but this would definitely be a map where you could try to basically break Farming Simulator in the mods. You know, see if you can run 10 combines on it, for example, just to have some fun and see what things look like. But from that standpoint, yeah, I mean, it's put together, and I would like to maybe have things spread out on the map more, but once again, it's a real location, and this is likely exactly what it is you've got acres and acres of farmland with Morris here as your hub, and everybody needs to get everything there whether they like it or not, which is why a lot of the farms have the giant silo complexes so that they can do what they need while they're on the farm and kind of minimize those trips to town. So hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please like the video. It helps spread the YouTube recommendations, which obviously then gets more views and helps us grow the community. So, and please subscribe if you have not, so that you know when something new is released, which I try to do pretty frequently. So I will talk to you next time.